Alrighty, welcome in everyone. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to get them into the Q&A now. We'll answer them in the order that they are received. I had quite a number of calls this week, and I had a couple of requests on things that everyone wanted to see um, within open to close. So we might take a look at that as well, as long as I see those questions coming in. I just want to make sure that that's actually showing up. Show me the right screen. Okay, let me do this again. Sorry, part of the reason why I didn't start so soon was because I was having issues with getting my screen, the correct screen shared. Let me make sure that that's working. Share. Okay. Let's do that again. Sorry, guys. Nope. Hmm. Okay. You know what? We'll do it like this. That's okay. Let's see. Okay, you guys can still say it. All right. Let's take this down here. Okay. All right, let me check the questions. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so let's go through this question first, and then we've got another question that's just going through a transaction, and we will definitely do that. So first things first, what is a scenario where you'd use task notes when creating a task template that is not for internal notes, correct? So task notes would be for internal notes, actually. So not necessarily in the task template do I see a lot of people using their task notes. Not saying that you can't, but when we talk about, so if we're looking at a task here, I'm just going to expand this task right here. And we go over to our, honestly, we can click on any one of these lines, but if we click on these lines here, we're going to be able to see that we have the ability to add on internal details. Our internal details are going to be helpful for when we talk about adding in like instructions. The reason that I usually say like add in instructions, that kind of thing, to your internal details is because you can add on like a list where you can say like 1, 2, 3, these are the steps, or you can add on bullet points. Notes, which is this little zero icon here, this is going to be for like, let's say you had to share a note on this particular task. Let's say there's multiple people on your team, and a task comes up, and on that task, it's something where you typically have a VA or an assistant complete that task and they can't complete it for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have access to the login. Maybe they need to share more information. Maybe they're waiting on an addendum or something like that. So they could add on a note, but not onto the task template itself here underneath your templates. It would be more preferred if we were actually on the property and they wanted to add a note here. The other thing that I usually see people doing, so like, let's say, let me just scroll down and we're gonna play pretend. Let's say final walkthroughs and closing reminders. Let's say that that's the next task that I have coming up, and I need to share a note with my team member about it. Maybe I talked with the agent on the phone and they let me know XYZ is happening with this particular transaction. And so we need to make sure that the final walkthrough happens at a specific time. Okay. So I'm sharing I'm sharing the information with my team member who is maybe coordinating this for me. Thanks. And I'm on the Grow and Pro plan. So this is kind of where I want to share that information. After I add that note, I want to pin it, but I also want to pin the task. And I also want to mark it as critical. When we pin tasks, they go to the very top. We're going to mark it as critical as well. The reason that I say that we kind of like flag that task a little bit more is because just adding a note, I mean, this one can be overlooked, right? It can be overlooked. Sometimes we don't always see it. But now, if you have that written down in your guys' system of processes, your guys' SOPs, that when there's something going on with a particular transaction or when there's something going on with a particular task that you need to share information on, you add that note, you pin it, you mark it critical. You can make it easier for your other team members to really quickly see, oh, Hannah pinned the send final walkthrough. What's going on with this? Oh, she's sharing the information. This is what's happening on this particular transaction, right? Because we can look at it and we can see who it was created by, when it was created as well. So that's kind of the idea behind using the notes on the tasks themselves. You would use it on that particular property when you need to share a note. But if we're talking about, again, and that's kind of the reason why I touched on it a little bit, if we're talking about our task templates, what I would do instead is I would utilize the internal details if I wanted to share step, step 1, step 2, step 3, hyperlink, right? Because in these, I can go ahead and click on this and create a hyperlink. And I can say, I want to open up a new window. I want this particular URL to open up. So when we're talking about using like, oh, I need step-by-step instructions, internal details is a great tool because it has the ability to add on that hyperlink. Another great tool for internal details or for steps like that is going to be subtasks. Subtasks can be awesome for this too, in case you just need to give that extra little bit reminder on what needs to be happening on that particular task. Now, the one thing about subtasks on a property versus subtasks in the task template is like, it's really obvious that there are subtasks here, but when we're on the property, sometimes it can be difficult to remember if we have subtasks or not, because you can see here it says subtasks, but sometimes this is not enough. Like it's not loud enough for us, right? So usually what I suggest is if you have like a long list of subtasks that the TC needs to see or they need to check off, right? So for example, the one that I have my send opening emails here it's just ensuring that, we've got the correct contact roles on there with the correct people. I might also include, it says send opening emails, see subtasks. And I might do this for any task that I need to have my TC just double check the subtasks, because with subtasks, we can make them set up so that they have to be completed before you can check off that parent task, right? Obviously, we can have that not be the case, but we might want that to be the case on some of those tasks that you need to share details with. Perfect. Awesome. Alrighty, so we have a request. The request is, can we walk through a transaction from beginning to end? Yes, we can. We're definitely going to do that. Let me see if I want to do it in this account. I think I want to do it in my other account. So let me just get into my other account really quickly. Awesome. All right, so now I'm in my other account. Let's go through walking through a transaction. The beginning of getting transactions within open to close is either going to happen one of two ways if you're using the native intake forms within open to close. The first way is you're going to have your agents fill out that intake form. When the agents fill out the intake form, you're going to get a text message, and then you're going to go over to the fire icon and you're going to look at the intake form submitted. The other way that you're going to get in properties within your system is you're going to be filling out the intake form yourself. There's obviously a number of other ways that we can do it. If you're using external intake forms, you can forward those over into open to close using the API. If you're using, maybe you're importing properties. So there's a couple different ways. I just want to focus on what do we do if it's just using the intake form that's native to open to close. So let's pretend we're the agent for a moment. I'm going to actually go ahead and head over to my gear icon into my organization and users. This will be for agents. So if you guys want to share this little part for them, here's my agent portal. I'm going to go ahead and impersonate my agent. And now I am pretending I'm my agent. I just got a contract I need to get into open to close. So I'm going to head over to my intake form icon. If we click on this 3-line icon, we can see it says intake forms here. So we'll click on intake forms. Here's that intake form that I have available to me. I'm going to click on start form, and it's going to open up that intake form for me. Now I'm just going to pop in the address. So we're going to put in a fake address. Let's do Jackson Road. We're going to scroll down. If we need to put in the unit number or the county, we're going to do that, but we don't need to. Agent submitting. I'm just going to say this is Hannah Hoxie. If I need to add in any submission notes, I can add them in here. And then now I'm going to say what's going on with this property. So I'm just going to start to answer questions and populate the dates for myself. This is what you're going to be expecting of your agents, that they would go through and they would say what they're doing with this particular transaction, indicating all the processes that they need to handle, and then scrolling down and continuing to fill out information. So I'm going to say this is under contract. This is our buyer. I'm going to pop in the purchase amount. I'm going to say there's seller concessions, pop in the EMD. We're going to say the contract date is for tomorrow. The execution date is for tomorrow, and the closing date will say that that's going to happen like Say end of November. Let's push it out to December, actually. Let's do the third week of December. There we go. All right, so loan application, I have it asking me for days fields. Some of you guys may have it asking for the actual date. Some of you may having it be asked for the days. It just depends. On my date template, I know that I need to add in the days field here. So I'm just going to add in 10/15. It's asking me, will there be a lead-based paint inspection? This is based off of me answering this, when's the house built prior to? I said, was it built prior to this? Yes. Then do we need this? You can say no if there isn't one, or I can say yes, and I can include those dates again to make sure that that lead-based paint inspection gets scheduled in the correct time frame. Now we've got questions about inspections. I'm going to go ahead and indicate that we are doing all of these inspections, and then I'm going to pop in 17 days for my inspection period. Home protection plan paid by, let's go ahead and say buyer's agent. We'll say it's ordered by the transaction coordinator because maybe that helps me out with figuring out which task template I have coming on. We're going to go ahead and enter in some details here. Here, we're going to go ahead and say that it was an agent that referred us. We're going to say it was Jana. We're going to say that she's getting a flat fee and Jana's making 10K off of this. She's making a lot of money off of this referral. We'll go ahead and say save and continue. So the idea is that your agent's going to be going through and filling out this information. The next step is dependent on how you have your intake forms built out. The way I have mine built out, I'm not asking for contacts and I'm not asking for documents. Maybe instead I import the contacts from Follow Up Boss, or maybe instead I import the documents from one of my integrations like Dotloop or SkySlope, right? So there's different ways to get that information in here. In this case, I'm just going to pretend that I have my documents coming in through email. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll to the bottom. Everything looks good. If I want to add in additional notes, this is where your agent's going to be adding in intake notes. I'm just going to start to type in intake notes and then copy paste it a couple times. That way you guys can see where the intake notes populate and what they look like. We'll go ahead and say submit. It's going to finalize that form. And now, again, remember I said I was going to email in documents. This email address right here at the top, that's going to be the email address I'm going to want to email the documents to. So if I know I have the documents and they're in my inbox, right? This might be another way to have your agent send the documents over if they can remember to. I know that in the moment when you're kind of running around and you're trying to move fast, it might be difficult to remember to get everything over. So maybe it makes sense to have them download things and then upload them to there. But I can grab this particular email address right now and I can email over those documents. So let me take a moment to do that. Okay, let's see. I want to find one that has like quite a number of pages. So give me one moment. That one's got a number of pages. This one has quite a number of pages too. Let's do this file and then let me grab one more file. Okay, let's do this file. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to email those files in. Yeah, I'm okay without a subject. We're just getting some emails in there. Cool. All righty. So now they're going to exit out of it, right? Your agent is going to be able to go to pending submissions and see the intake forms that were submitted, as well as that property address again. So again, if they need to send that out, right? If they need to get that copy out to whoever they might need to get it out to, it's easy to get that information out. We still share that property address here. If they need to add in more contacts, they can add in contacts here. If they need to review the properties that they currently have, they can review properties here. If they're filling out a secondary intake form, okay, they're going to go to the property. If this one's under contract and I need to fill out a secondary intake form for it, or this is the listing, and it goes under contract, I'm going to want to go to the property and then click on secondary intake forms. And here I'll see all those intake forms that are available to me. So it just kind of depends. There's a little bit of navigation on where they need to go. But now that we've confirmed they've sent it in, everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and switch back our brains to the TC brain, where you're a transaction coordinator within your system. And you just received the text message, which I just did, saying that I had a intake form just come in. And this is my intake form. So here I can see the intake form up here at the top. When I select that intake form, it's going to open up. It's going to ask me some additional questions. So depending on how you have your intake form set up, you can either have it set up where it asks the agent a bunch of questions and they fill it out, or it might prompt you to ask a bunch of questions. If you guys remember on that intake form, I asked, is there a loan? And it was either yes or no cash deal. So because I said yes, there was a loan, I have this question asking me, well, what's the financing type then? Right? So we can figure out what kind of loan we have. So I'm going to go ahead and say conventional, and I'm going to click on this purple checkbox, and that's going to update that value and add it over here on the left-hand side. So next I'm going to add in my MLS number. Let's pop in my year built. Let's pop in my last day of the year. Ooh. There we go. And then let's add in my earnest money due days, which in this case, it's going to be 3. That's me just filling out all of the fields. You could have any number of fields here that is asking you for. I usually suggest filling out all the ones that are required, but if you don't know what you should put in that field, then you can go ahead and say close, and that field section will go away. Because I filled out everything, I don't see the option to click back on it and open it up back here up at the top. To show you guys what that looks like, I'm just going to go to this one really quickly. Here's that question here. I need to get back to it again. Here was this missing property values. If I click on that, it's going to open up that view again, okay? Going back over to our Jackson Road again, the next thing it's going to do is it's going to ask me to confirm some defaults. These may already be set up in your intake form. So if you don't have it asking you these defaults, you might be good. Otherwise, we're going to want to set them up. So I'm going to go ahead and say update defaults. It's going to ask for my count days using. That's business days, calendar days, or calendar days skipping weekends. This is just setting the default on the property. I want you guys to think of this as a trickle down situation. So whatever you set on the property is going to trickle down into your task templates, into your email templates. It's going to trigger down into your triggers. If you're using triggers, it will trickle down into your date template as well. So if we didn't already say that we're calculating based off of business days, right? When we're looking at those task templates, those date templates, the email templates, or the triggers, then we're going to have that update. Here again, if I say we're counting federal holidays, we're just setting up the default, it trickles down. I'm going to want to set up my weekend roll as well. I'm going to go ahead and say roll backwards. If any of them are already set, you've got a task that says, oh, I wouldn't want to do this on a Friday. I could do this and push it to Monday. If it already says roll forwards, it's going to keep that rule. But if it doesn't have a rule associated with it, this is what's going to help you make sure that your tasks show up appropriately, okay? Based on that particular property. Next, we have to do the email signature. I'm just going to scroll down. I don't have a phone number, but if I needed to, I could select one here. Here is my email. We're going to go ahead and click on email signature, and we're just going to grab clone. That one's fine. If you notice, I have 2 email signatures in here, okay? If you guys are in a situation where every single time you get a transaction, you're kind of making that decision on what email signature you're using, because it depends on who is going to be like involved with the transaction, then you might not want to select the default signature. I'm just going to go ahead and click on edit signatures because it's going to open up a view for me here. So if I had like 4 different teams that I worked with, and each one of those teams had a different signature for me with different logo or different color or different even like lettering or the way that it was written, then I might want to have those multiple signatures here, but I want to make sure that I don't assign them to me. And the reason I want to make sure that they are not assigned is so that every single time I get that prompt with an open and close when that new property comes in to adjust the signature. Otherwise, if I said my sample signature was my default signature for Hannah, and I said save, then this is the signature that would show up for me every single time I'm not going to get that prompt saying, hey, choose your signature. To remove that default signature, we're just going to click back on signature here. We're going to click on assign to, select organization user, and say save. And then it's going to remove that assignment. Again, that's going to be for you guys who are like, well, I have to choose the signature every single time, Hannah. It's unique based off of which agent I'm working with. That's how you're going to accomplish this. You set it up one time on the transaction. You don't have to worry about it again. Some people have used smart blocks to try to get those signatures to populate, which is not a bad idea if your smart block count is not super high. But if you're about to sit there and make 125, let's say that's a little too much. Let's say you're about to make 15 email signatures into smart blocks. It might make sense, but I would probably suggest setting up something like this instead and having this one click here to say this is the default signature I want to use versus having to make sure that every single email template populates with the correct signature on it, right? Because when we select our default signature here, if you guys know, they're kind of separate from our task or from our email templates, right? And what happens if you add on a new agent? You're going to have to go through and you're going to have to add on that smart block and add it to every single email template you have in your system that needs to have that signature on it versus the one click of this is the email signature I need to use. So just some things to keep in mind. So those are set up. We're going to go ahead and say close. Next, I would usually go over to my documents and I check them out, right? Here are the two unapproved documents that came in. I would want to file them away, but I don't have those folders just yet, right? The way that I have my system set up is that I have my documents coming on after I approve the intake form. When I approve it, these two files are just going to pop up and stay at the top, which is fine for me. I need to split them up anyway. So the documents have come in here. If I need to add on my contacts, I can add on contacts. So let's go ahead and just type up some people and bring them onto the property. We'll bring on Michael. We'll bring on, I think I have a couple other sample people in here. There we go. Let's do this one. Let's do, pretty sure I have myself in here. There we go. And I've got two assistants with me. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that everyone has the correct names that they have. We're going to pretend that I'm the buyer. Edward Snow, we're going to make sure, if that's the home insurance recommended by whoever, we can leave that as so. Home inspector lender. Okay, so let's go ahead and change the Edward into my buyer's agent. We're going to make Ashley our listing agent. We're going to make Justin our seller. And then we'll leave Michael Scott as the lender. So now we've made sure our contact's on here, right? Before we've even approved, we've double checked that our documents have come in correctly. We've double checked that we have our contacts on this property. There's going to be no tasks initially, for me at least. If I need to, I can double check my fields here and make sure that I've got all of my days fields in here. Looks like I don't have one yet for my appraisals. Maybe I need to add that in there for my appraisal due dates. I'm going to go ahead and say 17. Again, this is just kind of making sure roughly that everything that needs to be in here looks good. And now we're going to click on approve the intake form. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, we've reviewed the contract and we've ensured that all the dates and details are filled correctly. And then I'm going to go ahead and say approve submission. You can see here at the top, it's warning me, hey, there's 2 documents to review. If I approve the submission without reviewing those documents, it's just going to approve those documents and pop them into an intake form folder. So it's not going to delete them. It's not going to remove them. They're not going to sit there unapproved because the moment that we approve this submission, it's going to approve everything on the property and turn it into a property. Right now, I want you to think of it as an intake form that's just kind of waiting for you to finish what you need to do. Once you approve it, that's when it becomes a property and it kind of jumps into its next life cycle. Ooh, great question. When you fill in the last day of the year, what is it used for? So I use that for like any tasks that I have happening in the new year. So if I have tasks to like send out another copy of the settlement statement or to send out a Happy New Year's email saying, like, thank you so much, so excited, how have the last couple months been living in your home? Anything like that, that's usually what I like to use it for. It just kind of depends. Kelly, did you use the last day of the year? Was there any specific reasons that you liked using it?
I actually didn't use it. I did it something different, but the same idea. And then when I came here at the last day of the year was there. But it's great for that HUD statement that you want to send out to stay in front of your clients.
Mhm.
Whether it be the agent or even the I mean, you could send it to the agent saying, hey, here, here's your HUD statement from last year for all the properties that you worked on. That's it. It's a touching point to get repeat business if that helps you any, but or just, be friendly and whatnot. But yeah.
For sure. For sure. Cool. So I'm going to say finish. It's going to reload my property. Now here on this left-hand side, I can see that my dates are populating correctly. If I need to check them, I can, but I'm going to trust my system to file out the dates that I need to appropriately because it's going to be following that day template that I've already tested out and checked out. So here I can just like scroll through and see, cool, earnest money looks great. It's due on Friday. Lead-based paint is going to be due next Tuesday. Home inspection is going to be due on the 25th. Okay, appraisal is going to be due on the 25th. So it just kind of goes through and just make sure that we've got all of those dates set up correctly. If I go over to my documents, remember how I said that they're just going to be waiting there? Here are those two documents, waiting without a folder. I can click on the top document. Here I can see that it's got 8 pages. I can scroll through the document and figure out, okay, what pages are what for this particular document. In this case, it's just a random blank I probably would say this is not a real Arizona real estate purchase agreement. I've seen some of the real ones. It doesn't really look like it. But here we have the document. We can scroll down to the bottom of this document and we can choose the folder and we can set the file role if we want to. So I can click on folder. It's going to show me all the folders that I currently have available. And then I can also set the file role. I can also, if I need to split up this document, click on split, and that's going to allow me to split up the document. So I'm going to go ahead and say just like 1 through 3, 1 through 3 lives in and file or a folder. Okay, this is what we want to focus on. I know it says file role. You need to put on the name for this. But if we go to new folder with file here and we select a file or a folder, here we can select that actual file in it. So here up at the top, it says title and escrow. This is the file with that file role associated with it. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and we're going to say for 1 through 3, we're going to go ahead and say that this is going to be the earnest money receipt. And then 4 through 6, we're going to go ahead and say that this is the purchase agreement. And then 7 through 8, 7 through 8, we're going to go ahead and scroll down and say that that's the addendum 1. And I'm going to say split file. What that's going to do is it's going to take that file, it's going to take those parameters that I just gave it, it's going to split it up and put it into those areas that I need. So if I click on the addendum 1, it's renamed the file and it's showing me 1 through 2. So this is the last page for this one. If I go to my purchase agreement and we click on that, this one also has now been split up appropriately. We're going to go back over and I'm going to grab onto this listing 1 as well. Again, if we just need to pop it into where it needs to go, let's say that this one is let me just look at my file roles really quickly and see what I have in here already. Let's go ahead and say it's the referral information. So this one is 8 pages once again. I'm going to go ahead and go to split. Oh, it looks like this document is encrypted. So I'm going to have to de-encrypt it. So we won't worry about splitting it right now. If we have files that are encrypted, we do need to take them out of open to close and then take them into another system, de-encrypt them, and then bring them back. Typically, when people are doing stuff like that, I usually see them using things like Adobe to get that done. I'm not going to set the file role. I'm just going to put it into this the contract and supplements for now. And then I can also grab the other document that I have here if I need to pop it into a folder as well. And we can just go ahead and pop that into there as well. Cool. So now I filed my folders correctly. I'm just going to refresh my property really quickly and we'll see if that documents page up at the top cleared away. It did. Awesome. Here it's showing that the notes are expanded if I want to add notes to these documents. I don't want to add notes to these documents, so I'm just going to toggle them close. And if I need to, I can reorder these documents depending on how I have my settings set up. But now I've made sure that my documents are filed correctly, right? At least the initial documents that I need to file correctly. If I need to check on missing documents, I'm going to click on that M really quickly and say, nope, our purchase contract FE looks great. I'm actually going to turn this on to fully executed. That way we have that notification there. Looks like we still need our home protection plan. That didn't get to us. And we still need our referral information. This stuff either needs to get split up, right? We need to download that document, de-encrypt it, upload it back to open to close. Or if we have another referral that we need to reach out to, this is a great way for us to let's just really double check. Okay, cool. We need this information still. Scrolling back to the top, I'm going to unselect that M so that I can see all of the files. And then I'm going to head over to my tasks. If you guys are on the Grow or Pro plan, your life is going to be essentially living out of the tasks. Here, you're going to see the tasks that are due right here at the top if you need to. Again, I don't have any tasks that are due right away. It looks like this one's going to be due on the, oh wait, actually, no, it is the 9th. I apologize. So my opening emails are due right away. I'm going to go ahead and check that task. It's going to load up those triggers for me. It's going to send them up to the health bar. I don't necessarily need to quickly jump to that right now if I need to. Usually it kind of depends on what you guys need to do next. Maybe there's some fields that you need to double check on. Like, okay, cool. So we have the earnest money. If I remember correctly, I indicated we have that earnest money receipt. So I'm going to update my status and I'm going to say I've already received it. That way we know that we've received it. I can mark who it's being held by. I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's being held by title. If I need to add in an earnest money receipt date, I can pop in today's date. Let me just click on that again to get that date in there. Awesome. And then if I need to add in any information for additional, I can add in anything else for additional. But the idea behind keeping my fields up to date is that if I'm on the on the Grow Pro plan, I might have another task right here that says confirm earnest money has been received and uploaded. It's due by October 11th. But if I want to check off this task and get it done now, I can do it now, right? So I can check off this task. It's going to send that email up to the health bar where I'm going to be able to review it and schedule it to go out to when it needs to go out, right? So the idea is that you can kind of get ahead on your tasks depending on what you have. If I already have that set up, I am good to go. That is going to be there for me waiting, okay? If I need to, I can go through and select the other options. Looks like we know what we're doing for our inspections. If I need to get that appraisal started, I can do that. Or if I need to get in stuff for my HOA, it looks like I indicated that there was an HOA, but I need to say what the due days for it. Let's say I checked the contract and it says the HOA is going to be due in 10 days. When I add in that date, we're going to see that due date populate for us, right? That days number field, that due date, okay? If you just have a firm date on your contracts, you just need to click into where it has that date field and add in that date. But we're going to want to add in that date before we add in the number of days field. When we click on that date field here, you can see that it's made contingent, and that's just following the rules from that particular, apologies, that's going to follow the rules from that date template here. So you can see business days, that's the default on the property, but I indicated that I wanted this to follow calendar days on the date template. This is what I meant by the rules are going to match whatever it is that you set up on where you set it up on. So if you set it up on the date template, it's going to follow the rules on the date template. If we scroll down, we can see the weekend row, federal holiday row, and skip federal holidays. This is defaulting to the property. So it's rolling back if it needs to. And then it's also counting federal holidays if it needs to. So it's just following those defaults. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say update because that one's fine. The next step that I would do is I would go up to my health bar. Here, I'm going to see a couple of my emails. 2 opening emails, confirm earnest money has been received and uploaded. And then request HOA documents for the listing agent. And then it looks like it also wants to add on a template. I'm going to click on my options just to see. It's just adding on my task template for my HOA. But let me see if I already have that task template. I do. So that particular trigger there at the bottom, I believe this is populating because I'm on the scale plan and I have a couple things set up for the scale plan. So I'm just going to turn off the trigger. If you guys have any triggers that you don't want, you can delete them if you want to, or you can just turn them off. Nothing wrong with turning off a trigger. We can reload this page. And if we scroll, we're going to see that it goes away from this view. But if we scroll to the top, if we need to look at them again, we can go to inactive and we can see how many triggers did we turn off, right? Sometimes instead of deleting, it makes sense to just switch the trigger off and have it as inactive. We don't need it right now. If in the future I did need it, I could always flip that switch back on here and I could resend out that trigger, whether it's adding on a task template or uploading, adding on an email or sending out an email, whatever that looks like. I'm going to go back to top priorities because this is where I usually like to play out of, but you can see any emails that are in queue. These are going to be the ones that you sent up to that health bar, right? But, oh, sorry about that. I usually like to sit with the top priorities here and see the emails that I have. So my opening emails. I'm going to click on inspect and I'm going to make sure that we're sending to the correct people. So here we can see the message. Next to that, we can see the template. From the message, we can see who it's being sent to, the lender, the listing agent. Looks like it's CCing my buyer's agent. If I go to the template, I'm going to see there's a lot more other people on this list of people who could receive information. So if I need to add those people as well to the property, I'm going to want to go to that contacts view and add those party members to the property. If this is all I need though, that's totally okay. This is all I need. Now I can scroll down and I'm just going to double check that all the information is showing up correctly. So here it says, hi everyone, I've included and compiled all the party members. So here we've got that buyer agent information, the buyer's information, listing agent, seller information, lender information. If I scroll down here, I can see title is missing. So again, if I need to add on another person for title, I can do that. Let's go ahead and add on title. And then I'd like to add on another buyer for you guys to be able to see what it looks like when there's multiple buyers here. And maybe an agent, maybe an agent, but I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. We're going to go back over to our contacts. I'm going to type in, let's do Pam. Pam should show up at the top. We're going to update her and we're going to say that she's title. And then let me create a new contact. Well, actually, I think I already have you in here, Kelly. Let's see. No, I don't. That's okay.
Oh, I'm not in there as Kelly Snow.
Not right now. Not this one. No, in
Not
the
this one.
other one you are. What do you want to be Snow again? Or I was
Oh.
going to make you Kelly Hoxie. You were
Oh,
going to.
that works too.
You were going to purchasing a house together, so we can have that. We can share last names. Everyone on this transaction is a Hoxie for now. We'll go ahead and say, oh, you know what? I kind of wanted to add on a couple. Well, we can leave it now, but let's add on a couple more information. We're going to make you Kelly at Hoxie.com because we got our own email. That's the Hoxies have our own email. Let's add in your phone number, cell phone number. Let's do cell phone number. Watch me actually put your real number in there. You'll be screaming, no, Hannah, stop it. All right, that looks good. We added on our title officer. We added on our buyer. If we wanted to reorder how our buyers show up, I can bring myself to the top. If I want to leave Kelly on the top, I can leave Kelly on the top. We'll go ahead and go back over to our health bar, and then we're going to click on inspect onto that top email again. Here we're going to see again, it's going to update. It's going to send it out to those correct people. So it's just following what's on that template, okay? Going back to the message, if we scroll down, it looks like for my smart block, for my buyer's information, I need to make a bit of an update for that because I can see that here, instead of putting a space in between the two, it's not doing that. So really quickly, I'm just going to do Control S for smart blocks. And I'm going to open this up and I'm going to look for my buyer contact loop. And the reason that I'm going through all of this, right? Hannah, why are you doing all of this right now? Like, why are you going through and showing me how to troubleshoot in the middle of it? Because it's the best time to do it. If you notice something's wrong in your system, you're going to do one of two things. Number one, you're going to fix it right then and there. That way you can make sure that it's never going to happen for any other future transactions. Or number two, you're going to write it down. You're going to make notes. You're going to say, this is the email template that I saw. This is the smart block that I believe is affected. Let me write this down so that I can correct it later. Because the idea is that you don't want to let this stuff pile up, right? Because then instead of 3 things that you need to update on Friday, it turns into 10, 15, 16, 20, 30 things that you need to update before the end of the month. And that can seem like a lot. So it's better to keep this up now than to do it later. So with this particular one, I have a feeling that the BR is just not working the way that it needs to work. What I usually like to do with these is I will copy the information. I will go over to the source code. I will delete this and I will paste it back in and then I'll say save. And then I will refresh this particular email template because I'm updating a smart block. And if I don't see what I need to see with this, looks like this smart block is not populating at all. And it could be because the smart block's broken. Did I just break it? Let's see. I did just break it. Cool. So let's go ahead and fix this. It just is angry at our the way that I set up the code. You can see here it looks a little silly. So we'll go ahead and just do that again, but I'm going to update it here and then we're going to delete out the code for it. So I'm just going to say buyer's information. Oh, make sure our merge fields don't get all wonky here. There we go. Address and contact and then BR at the end of that. I'm going to go back over to my source code and I'm just going to delete this really quickly and say save. Say validate smart block. There we go. Okay, so we might need to add in that information again. That's fine. Well, actually, I think I have it on my clipboard. Cool. Okay, so let's do this again. Double check that our smart block's not broken anymore. Since I broke it, buyer's information 1. Nope, that looks good. We're going to inspect that email template again. Okay, so I'm still not seeing the BR there. If I still don't see it, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add in that space because I want to add in a space there. So I'm just going to click on Control S again, open up my smart blocks, go to buyer's information, and I am going to add on a space here. There we go. Let's just go ahead and refresh this because I just want to make sure that it looks the way that I want it to look. Still not adding it in there. That's fine. I can add the BR in here. Let's go to me. Oh, actually, utilities. Let's go to page break. I totally thought the page break needed to be included on the inside of the smart block as well, but I saw it on the outside. So that's the curious part for me. Okay, let's go ahead and inspect this email template again. There we go. Now it looks the way I want it to look. So I think it was the fact that the BR, and which is a page break, it's just adding in a space, the space right here. I believe that needs to be before the end contact, not after, because I think it's trying to add in a page break after. And I want them to be split up like this, where we have, this is the first buyer, this is our second buyer. Cool. Now that this looks good to me, right? I love it, looks great. I have an option here. I'm going to go to my next email template. I'm just going to make sure that this one's populating correctly. So it's sending to the correct people, sending to our buyers. We can go to the template if we need to double check. And then when we're back on this email template, looks like my dates are populating in here correctly. If I scroll down, you know, make sure that my HOA documents is showing up in here, or my HOA information is showing up in here correctly. My inspection information is in here correctly, my appraisal information. This is kind of where you're kind of double checking and kind of reviewing, okay, how do I want my emails to look? Does this look correct? Do I need to update it? You can see here it says Kelly and Hannah, because there's 2 buyers on here. You can see also here it says Kelly and Hannah as well. So it looks like Hannah is selling this to Hannah. That's totally fine. So we can scroll down to the bottom and see if there are any merge fields missing. There are none, and there are none missing. So we looks good. And then at the very, very bottom, we can see that contract agreement, that purchase contract is also attached. That is based off of my file roles. So because I have that file role associated with my purchase contract, I know that it's automatically attached here. Scrolling to the top, if that email looks good, what I usually like to do is I say select the 2 triggers and then schedule them, right? So I'm going to say they need to go out. Let's go ahead and say tomorrow because the contract execution date is tomorrow, even though the intake date was today. And we'll send out our opening emails tomorrow. And I want them to go out at 7 a.m. And I'm going to say schedule triggers. That's usually what I suggest for those. Now, confirm earnest money is received and uploaded. I know that this one is an email that I would want to send out based off of, you know, like that earnest money due date. Since I've said that I've received it and it's due on Friday, the 11th, which, right, this Friday, the 11th, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and review the email, make sure it's sending to the correct people. This looks great. Make sure that earnest money receipt is copied on there, attached to there. I can go to my template just to double check. Is everyone that needs to be on here on here? It looks like they are. Perfect. And then I'm going to select the trigger, or I can select send if I want to. I'm going to go ahead and select that trigger again. Select schedule. I'm going to go ahead and say that I want it to go out on Friday. And we want this one to go out once again. We can say, let's say 7:15. Here we're asking for the listing docs. We can leave this here for now. I believe that this trigger is showing up because I have it built out underneath my property triggers. I'm going to go ahead and just delete that HOA property trigger here so that we don't have any excessive tasks. And now my tasks are good. All my emails are scheduled. If I need to go back and review those emails that I've scheduled, I'm not going to go to the health bar. If I go to the health bar, we're not going to see any emails up here. You can see that they're all gone. We have no tasks that we need to complete, no documents, no notes. If we want to see what those emails went to, or we need to review them for any reason, we're going to go to emails where it has that 3, and we can go to scheduled. We try to make things pop on the dashboard. That way you guys can see where things are going and where they're at. But you know, just to make sure that you guys know, if you see a 3 next to the emails, it's most likely because you have 3 emails scheduled. If I click on those email templates here, we can actually edit it now. So it's severed itself from that email template and it's created its own email. So here I can pop in whatever I want to. If I need to attach more files, I can attach more files. I can update when I'm sending out this email. If I close out of this one and we go to introduction of closing parties, here we can see again, like if I needed to edit this, oh, you know what? I just got the phone number for Hannah. Let me just add it in here as well. Cool. Now I know Hannah's phone number is in there, but I'm also going to want to make sure to go to my contacts, to go to Hannah, to click on phone number and add in her phone number here. So it allows you to edit that email template, but keep in mind, once it's severed, right? They're no longer connected, but if we need that phone number in other places, we want to make sure we put it there. I can go back to email templates, go back to scheduled, and do anything else that I might need to do with these. All right. Let me take a look at our Q&A. That's kind of beginning to end looking through a transaction, like when we get it submitted to us, how we're going to validate it, how we're going to review it. I didn't go over any integrations. The only reason I didn't go over any integrations because I don't really have any connected to this particular account. But if you were follow-up boss users, after sending out those initial emails, you're going to head to your follow-up boss icon. You're going to connect through your follow-up boss APIs and sync over the data there. If you're using, like I said, if you're using SkySlope, Dotloop, or you're using Brokerment, you're going to want to go to your little more icon here, and you're going to navigate to those particular integrations. So Dotloop, I'm going to go to Dotloop. If I had Dotloop connected, I would have two options. I'm either going to export the property or I'm going to connect it to an existing property. It's going to be the same thing for SkySlope and the same thing for Brokerment. We're either going to be exporting this out and creating the property within those systems, or we're going to be linking it to a property that's already existing. If you have it linked or you've already connected those and you need to bring over documents, you're going to go to your documents tab and you're going to bring them over through documents. Here you'll have an additional button, which I do not have, that just says import documents. You'll click on it and it'll say, okay, import through which API. Do you want to do SkySlope or do you want to do Dotloop or Brokerment, whatever you have connected? You can also connect to Google Drive. That's another thing that's kind of cool about the system. If you're using Google Drive or if you're Google Workspace users, you can connect through Google Drive as well if you need to. Cool. Okay, let me double check. Let me see this. Okay, if you have more than one buyer or seller, do you just apply the buyer contact rule to both? Yep. Or do we create a secondary one? No co-buyer, no co-seller. No, just buyer seller. Perfect. I'm so glad that yeah, because that's like one of the most common asked questions I actually get a lot of when we're initially setting up the system. Everyone goes, wait, you guys don't have like a buyer 2, buyer 3, buyer 4? Nope, don't need that. We just need the singular buyer. Open to close knows that there's multiple buyers on the system, or multiple sellers, or multiple buyer agents, or multiple title people, or multiple home inspectors. It just depends on, who you have multiples of. Second question, is there a way to have an option condition in the template, i.e. good morning, afternoon? No, not necessarily for that. We've gotten good at like adding in a couple different things. Like you guys can see here that I've got like more information for my dates, right? It says Thursday and then it says 10/10/24, and I can change the view for this. But when it comes to those good morning, good evenings, we don't necessarily have anything that would work with that. I mean, I would say you could build out a smart block for it, but I'd probably recommend against it because what condition would you use? You know what I mean? Eventually that might be a feature though that might be kind of nice to add in and make it a little bit more what's that thing called? So that it feels more edited, so it feels more organic, right? The communication feels more organic. We do have in our defaults and settings the ability to set the time frame for this property. And when we do send out those emails, technically it knows the time frame for it. So I'd probably say that could be something that could be submitted as an idea request. And then it would probably be a smart block or a merge field, I'm wondering too. Let me just open up a smart block and click on the merge fields, and then I'm going to close out of this. I imagine we could look into seeing if we could have in like a utilities greeting. And depending on what time of the day it is, maybe you've got 2 of them and you paste them in there kind of thing. And if it's before 12, it's good morning. And if it's after 12, it's good evening. But again, we have to think of like how we're going to build that out. Everyone's clocks are unique. Every transaction is also unique. Are we going to be basing it off of the user who's logged in and their time zone, the transaction? Maybe the buyer agent has a different time zone, or the client is in a different time zone. Let's say I'm purchasing a house on the East Coast. If someone says good morning to me, anytime on the East Coast, it's going to be good morning, right? But here in California, if I say good morning, it could be like 2 o'clock there. So Well, 2 o'clock is a little bit too late. Let's say it could be 12 or 1 o'clock there, and it's still morning for me. It still feels like 11. So I think it's just a matter of figuring out how we would be able to accomplish that. I would say if you have emails that you send out every single morning, like the ones that I scheduled for early in the morning, if you know that you're going to send out those emails every single morning, then I would go ahead and just have that added into your or have that added into your email template itself. So if you send out like notification emails and you have them set up, you trained your TCs on when they check off those boxes for let's say for inspection reminders, that you have those emails set up that they go out every single morning, that's when they need to be scheduled to go out in the morning. Then what I would do is I would have good morning already typed out into that email template versus trying to figure out what kind of smart block or what kind of knowledge can I use for this. Because again, with the smart blocks, we need to use a condition to get it to populate correctly. So that means you're going to be creating a condition. Let's say we wanted to have the emails go out for inspections. Okay. We would have to create a field that says um, morning emails or evening emails, right? It would have to have like a choice. And then you'd have to select that option. Here again, I'm going to click on buyer's response to repairs and pretend that it's this choice, right? This would be morning emails. This would be afternoon emails, right? Or evening emails if you wanted to. And when you select morning emails, then as long as morning emails is selected, then it'll say good morning. But if not, what does it do instead? Does it say good evening or does it say afternoon? That's kind of like where you can build out the conditional logic for it. You can have it, but again, you would have to update that depending on what time of the day you're in. And that's another field that you have to make sure is updated based on what time you're logged in and based on what time you're sending out these emails if you wanted to use something like that. So it's creating more work for yourself in the end. Cool. In this case, again, I scheduled these emails. These emails are edited. I know that each one of these 3 emails is going out at 7 a.m., 7 a.m., 7:15. I could totally come in here. It says, hello, everyone. I could just squeeze in a good morning. Good morning. Hello, everyone. And just leave it at that if I wanted to as well. So that's the other thing too with this is it's kind of like figuring out what's going to be the easiest for me if I need to. And I'm just going to add it into all of them. These emails aren't going to send. I don't think that they, hopefully no one actually has any of these actual emails because they've received a lot from me. But here, I've added it in now. It's in there if I needed to. So I could edit it that way. Cool. All right. What was I going to say? Oh, Kelly, is there anything else that you wanted to add on with like walking through a transaction with an open to close? Was there any steps that you're like, ooh, I would also do this at the very beginning of opening up my transaction to move forward with it?
To move forward, no, I spent most of my time in the task pipeline and I was really only in the transaction if I needed something like specific but you could still get it to it from the task pipeline.
Mhm.
And then same with the triggers. And that's another thing that we're seeing in onboarding is triggers aren't being fired. So always be sure
Mhm.
to check your trigger pipeline, make sure those are getting fired. And if not, just turn them off.
Yep. Yeah, exactly like what I said. Just turn them off. Yeah,
Yeah.
so Kelly's making a great point. So you've approved everything. Once you're used to setting up this transaction, right? If you need to look at this transaction page, this is totally fine too. But once you've gotten used to the fact that, cool, I entered it in, I'm going to set it up, make sure the contacts on there, documents are filed initially, make sure that my task templates have populated, all these are all the task templates that I'm doing for this transaction. Everything looks good. Once you've hit that point where you're like, yeah, I submit it, I take 15, maybe 30 minutes to go through and make sure that the transaction set up, which is basically the amount that we took today, except for I did do a little bit of, fixing and tweaking and talking during the task or during the setup of this transaction. I'd say once you get to the point where you get comfortable with them and you start to get a lot of transactions, it can be a lot to have to toggle through each one of those transactions. Instead, take a tip out of Kelly's rule book, which is deal with your task pipeline. In your task pipeline, exactly like what Kelly said, you can do everything from here. You look at this one, verify inspection addendum has been fully executed and uploaded to compliance. Cool. I'm going to click on my documents tab. Here's my documents. I'm going to scroll down and make sure, wow, neither of my inspection documents have been uploaded. Where do I need to get them from? Do I need to import them from one of my integrations? Again, if I had integrations, they'd show up here at the top. Do I need to go to my emails? And do I need to grab them and have them assigned over to the property? Again, if I go to my inbox, my email inbox, if I'm a Google user, I believe also if you're a Microsoft user, I'd have to do some testing with that. But you can grab the attachments and I can send them to this particular property. Or I can click on that document and go, oh, I forgot to upload these, and upload the document right here. Just drag and drop it up into this upload button right here. So you can do everything that you need to do from this view here. Now, one thing, like Kelly was saying, we're noticing triggers aren't getting fired off, right? That means that we've got these two triggers here. When we check off this task, these two triggers are still loading. They're queuing up. Okay, they're not going out, they're queuing up. So once we've set that up to send out that email, to queue up that email, we're going to want to go to our trigger pipeline next. And we're going to have that email go up here. I'm going to scroll down until I see I have quite a number in here. Let's see if we can find the one that I just checked off. See, these are all Almond Avenue. Am I filtering? So it could be the filter. Let me just remove the filter really quickly. So now I have 8 triggers. Let me just go through this again. And again, this is kind of why, you want to make sure you keep up on your triggers and don't do what Hannah's doing. Actually, I could probably search the address too. Which one is this? UC. Okay. UC dash. There we go. Let's go ahead and grab this one. Okay. So here's that email. This one says send fully executed copy of inspection. I can click on the email here. It's going to pull up in that email template for me to show me what email template it's using. But here at the bottom, inspect, that's going to allow me to inspect it. So it looks like we're missing the buyer agent's full first name on here. We don't have the buyer agent on there. Okay, well, I need to add the buyer agent on there. I'm going to go to my property contacts and I'm going to look up Hannah, who's my buyer agent now on this particular property. So I'm going to update this and I'm going to say that they're the buyer agent. I'm going to update this and I'm going to say that they're the buyer. And then I'm going to update Justin and I'm going to say that he's the seller. There we go. I've added on those contacts. I'm going to inspect that email again and voila. Now we see that it's greeting the correct person. And again, if I had those files actually uploaded, I would have them attached here at the bottom. I didn't upload any files. So that's the reason why we're not seeing it there. But once that looks good, I can click on send, or I can select the trigger and schedule it. Kind of just depends on what I want to do with it. If I select send, it's just going to go out. Ta-da! Cool. Awesome. Let me see. We have a question. Similarly, if a walkthrough has been scheduled and you want to add that info to your email, or it hasn't been scheduled and the recipient needs a reminder to do something, is there a way to have both options in the email and choose the appropriate one? That is where we would want to use a smart block. That is a great example of a smart block. Now, do we have it? Do we not have it? It depends on what plan you're on, and that helps you kind of figure out how we want to handle that communication. So I know that we're at time, but I think that that's such a fantastic question. I kind of want to just show you guys what I would do. Okay. These are the steps that I would take. I have an email, I believe right now, says send final walkthrough emails, and I have 3 triggers associated with it. When I click on those triggers, it's going to show me the 3 that are on here. Closing reminder to the parties, closing reminder to the buyer's agent, closing reminder to the buyer. These are the 3 emails that I want to go out if my walkthrough has been scheduled and I am good. Okay. If I wanted to add information to those emails, obviously I could click on inspect and see, okay, well, what's included right now? Looks like it's just showing the date that the walkthrough is due for. It says that there's this. So that's that for that closing email. Let's see the one to the buyer's agent. Cool. So it's just a reminder that they have a closing there. That one looks good. And let's look at the buyer. If we need to share our information, our contact information on this buyer email, then here I would want to make sure that I could add in that. Now, I would be thinking to myself, is this something that I want to do every single email or just some emails? If it's every single email, we're going to want to add in merge fields. If it's just some emails, then we're going to want to add in a smart block. The condition for that smart block, that's something that you're going to have to decide on. So let's say you needed to share your information but you only need to share your information if the agent has indicated that you need to be present for the walkthrough. For whatever reason, you need to be present for the walkthrough. I would make sure that I have field that asks me, who needs to be present for the walkthrough? Or do I need to be present for the walkthrough? Or does the TC need to be present for the walkthrough? Whatever question you need to ask. And then if you have that trigger, if you have that set as yes, or so-and-so needs to be present, then you can share your information using a smart block. But if not, then you don't have that information populate, right? If they say, no, you don't need to be there, this is perfect as is, then we don't need to have that smart block come on. The other email template or the other trigger that I would have is one that's called task not completed, and I would want an email to go out. The task not completed, the way that these ones work is that if, let's say, and I don't have an email template for this exactly right now, but let's say need to schedule. Or let's say reschedule. Final walkthrough. That's what this email's about. Okay. This email's about we need to reschedule it. Okay. What I would do is I would have a task that's, or I'm sorry, a trigger that's set up as not completed. We're going to want the contingency to be due. We can have it due, the same day as, let's just go ahead and go to time frame and say same day as, whatever time of day. So let's say by 7 a.m. this email needs to go out. Ooh, let's go 7 a.m. This email needs to go out. I'm going to go ahead and say roll back and roll back. We're going to count federal holidays and we're going to say update. So the way that our task not completed will work is that if we have not checked off this task by 7 a.m., then we need to send out an email saying, hey, the final walkthrough needs to be rescheduled to get that rescheduled. So the idea is that you're going to either be using an email template to confirm that everything's been good, or an email template to say, we have not, we need to reschedule or we need to get that scheduled. I would have them built out this way versus having one email template that, depending on smart blocks, it shows up things. Because if we ever need to send out this email template solo by itself, just the one that says, hey, we need to do a reschedule, they let me know that there was going to be an extension on the close date got moved and it's extended out, which means our final walkthrough is being moved. I need to send out an email and I need to reach out and we need to figure out when that date, that new date is, kind of thing. I would have a separate email template that I could use versus having everything built out in one. Now, within that email template, I could have a variety of different information, right? Maybe I've talked to the agent and we already have a preliminary final walkthrough date that we want to include. Like it's a date that, hey, like, do we want to agree that this date would work best? And you want to confirm with all the party members that that date works best. You could have a smart block for something like that. You've already confirmed that you might have a date if this is something that happens frequently with you guys. So you can have merge fields for that. You can have a smart block built out for that. Here's the information. Or if you don't have that yet and you just need to confirm, hey, just want to make sure, have you guys discussed what the rescheduled final walkthrough date is or what the new final walkthrough date is, then you would have a different smart block show up within that one. And that would be, when's the next, what are we rescheduling the final walkthrough for? So I wish that I had more time to go through this. I know that we're already 5 minutes past. If you want to kind of brainstorm how to handle that, Kimberly, feel free to reach out to support and we'll see about getting you on a call with me and we'll see if we can, get together and like take a look at what your system, how it is currently set up. Are you using tasks? Are you using property triggers? And we could talk about the best use case for that. And then next Wednesday workshop, if you guys want to follow up on that call, we can definitely have a chat about it and I can show you guys what we did and how we ended up solving that. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I'm not going to ask if there are any other questions, but if there are any other questions that we didn't get to today, that I'm not able to answer, you can reach out to us at help@open2close, or you can send us a chat as well, and we can get back to you there. If you guys are running into scenarios like that, where you think you might want to do a smart block, you think you might want to do something different and you're not sure, it's always good to like write it out, right? Write it out first. This is what I would want to send, or this is what I would want to send, and then figure out the condition that you would want to use with those. You could also say, I want to send this or this, but only when this happens. and you can send that in a chat with us. Our team is phenomenal at building out smart blocks. Each one of our support team members, they know how to build out smart blocks. They're really good at it as well. So it can be something where you can brainstorm with us on some strategy on how to do that. And if worst comes to worst, they send you my way. We get on a call and we do it live together, right? That's the worst scenarios that you have to meet with me
Which is
to build
really
out a
not a
smart
worst
block.
case scenario.
It's really not.
Sounds
Really
terrible.
not.
That
It's
is
so
not
hard.
a worst case
It's
scenario.
awful.
That's a good
Um,
case scenario.
that's probably the best case scenarios is eventually getting on a call with Hannah because we can talk about more than that. We can take a look at other parts of your system too. Other than that, if you guys are looking for more webinars like today's webinar, you can go to our Learn tab and go to webinars. We'll have the ones that we have currently available to everyone here. I'm still going to touch on it. We're probably going to have a training in regards to secondary intake form. We're probably thinking either end of next week or early beginning of the second week out. So not the end of this, so end of next week or the week after that. That's kind of what we're thinking about. It's probably just going to be like a training teaching you guys how to use the system. I know that we have had a couple people or how to use secondary intake forms, but we'll also be getting feedback on that call as well. Like, how are things going? What are you guys liking? What are you not liking? So if you are on the secondary intake form beta, definitely keep an eye out for that. We'd love to hear back from you guys. That's kind of like what is going to make things better about it. And if we can do it before we launch it live, then any kind of issues that you guys might have run into now, we can resolve them now. That's the idea behind this. So definitely want to have you guys keep an eye out for that. If you are interested in the beta and you'd like to sign up for it now, there's going to be two things that you're going to need to make sure that you're qualified for. Number one, you need to be an active subscriber. That's a paid subscriber with an open to close. And number two, you need to be on the new pricing plan. So you're going to want to go within your system. You're going to go up to your little person icon. You're going to go to plan and billing. And number one, you're going to make sure here that you're subscribed. I'm not. I'm on trial. I don't even qualify for the secondary intake forms, right? The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you are on either the Grow, Pro, or Scale plan. They're not giving unlimited secondary intake forms on that particular plan. I believe right now you only get access to 3. So keep that in mind when you're going through and you're building it out. You're going to only have access to 3 secondary intake forms to build out. If you're on the scale plan, once we go live with it, you're going to have unlimited intake forms. I believe for Pro plan, it's either going to be 3 or 4. I want to say we're leaning more towards 4, but it could be 3. But I want to say we're leaning towards 4. And then on the Grow plan, we're going to have 1. So if you're on the Grow plan, but you're on the beta, you're going to have access to 3 right now. But eventually it's going to go down to 1. And only 1 secondary intake form is going to be available on that Grow plan. We'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like and making sure that you still have what you need to have for those intake forms or the secondary intake forms on that webinar next week. I think maybe the week after that. It just kind of depends. Again, we're still getting feedback. We want to make sure that that what we're building out for you guys as far as your secondary intake forms, that it's solid. And then obviously we'd like to go live as soon as we can. The moment you guys go, yay, everything's great, we're going to go live with it. Cool. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you for hanging on for a bit longer. Take a look for that. Like I said, it'll probably be an email from us if you guys are on the secondary intake form beta. We'll make sure that you get that communication and get with us on that webinar, or we might just reach out to you directly and schedule a call. That way we can kind of take a look at how you're using it, get your feedback, and learn from you guys on how you guys are liking it or not, what parts you're not liking on. Cool. Alrighty, well, drink water, stretch, eat some snacks, get some fresh air. I will see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you so much. See you then.